The first thing when it happened, obviously, is at Sportsnet we have 7 networks, and without any live sports, we're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to fill the airwaves and fill the programming grid? So that was the first big challenge for everybody. So, we did basic stuff like classic games and things like that, but then it was an opportunity to experiment, and that's where we got to do things like watch parties. We did the Jose Bautista watch party, which, there's a lot of fanfare now on the Manning cast, which what they're doing on Monday Night Football. A lot of that stuff was started during the pandemic. Yeah. And a lot of it was, how can we do things from home? So we were exploring new technologies. And the other thing, too, that was really different in the type of content that we were creating was, in television, you're used to doing polished and really professional broadcasts. We're concerned about every aspect of lighting. Are we in focus? Things like that. But through the pandemic, we were able to do a lot of stuff that really, cameras were buffering, they're out of focus, people are at home, people are shooting stuff on their phones. And what we saw and what we found was that ultimately people accepted it. Yeah. And that's kind of continued on, right? So, but then once we moved past that, then of course, and live sports came, then it was a complete free-for-all, completely different from what we normally do. Television was based in a lot of people in a small space, whether in a mobile truck or in a control room, and none of that was going to work. Right. So we had to figure out how to do it safely. We had to figure out how to do it efficiently and do a lot of it without travel. So what you saw more so than ever was a lot of collaboration between networks. For the North Division, the NHL season where all the Canadian teams played each other, Sportsnet, TSN, RDS, and TVA, we all worked together. So for example, when Calgary Flames were in Winnipeg playing the Jets, TSN did the line cut of the broadcast, and Sportsnet took it. We had a couple of our own cameras, and vice versa. If the Jets were in Calgary, TSN would take our feed, because it's the only way to limit the number of people at the venue, right, and to put out a quality broadcast, and everybody could get what they want. And Jamie and I were talking about this before we came on the panel. Travel is a huge issue. There's a lot of people who are concerned around the pandemic. At Rogers in particular, for the longest time, travel wasn't even allowed, but we gave everybody the option. And what we found is that many people just weren't comfortable traveling and still aren't. And we had to respect that. And so that's what we've done. So we've moved now to a situation where we've done productions in different ways. And now we're kind of in a hybrid model. Right. We are, in some instances, we're back doing complete full-ups like we had done before the pandemic. And a lot of instances, we're still doing world feeds. We're working with our broadcast partners in the States, whether it's on the Blue Jays or on hockey or Raptors, whatever the case may be. We're all kind of working together. Right. And you've seen stuff that's kind of blown my mind, especially on the Blue Jays. We saw they were in Dunedin, they were in Buffalo, they were in Toronto. We did shows where the Yankees crew was cutting the game. Buck Martinez was at his home in Florida. Pat Tabler was at his home in Cincinnati. And our broadcast crew was putting in music and graphics and everything out of Toronto. Right. 4 different spots, all linked together, no delays, and everything in sync. Would have never.
You'd mentioned the foul balls being an issue.
Yeah, the foul balls were because they couldn't see because they're not in the ballpark.
Right.
But in terms of technically, everything worked. Yeah. And as a production guy, you're kind of proud to see how we adapted, but you're also, hopeful that that's maybe not the way to go, because I'm a producer at heart, as is Scott, and being at the venue and being there is still the best way to do it.
It's forced innovation. What COVID did was force innovation in the technology that the smart guys like Umza came up with. We're able to use, and things that you didn't think were possible 3, 4, 5 years ago, or in some cases months previous. You were able to do.